Okay, what we're going to be looking at today is Chapter 7, Flipped Classroom, PowerPoint. Very quickly, there are going to be three main concepts in Chapter 7. One is going to be the nominating process, which kind of folds in right from last unit when we talk about political parties. The nomination process is the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl or the World Series, and the way we do this is through a primary or caucus self-announcement process. It is up to the political parties within the states to decide. So we will be doing a classroom activity that will free up some time because of this PowerPoint. Having said that, what we're going to be looking at today in this PowerPoint is going to be the voting process, whether it be in the general election when you pick from one political party's candidate or another, or what we just talked about, the nomination process, where we select from just one political party's nominees, where you might have four or five or two, to get it down to just one person. So the way we look at voting is, since it's not in the Constitution, and this goes all the way back to Unit 1, then it's the state's responsibility. The states are in control. And basically, the job that has to deal with voting in every state is the Secretary of State, the same people who have to deal with driving. Since the Secretary of State has a lot of responsibilities already, what they basically do is give that responsibility to the county clerk in each county. Since we have 102 counties in Illinois, every single county runs their own elections. So they decide what kind of ballots to use, what kind of machines to use, and whatnot. Again, the county clerk is responsible for that. So in essence, I live in DeKalb County, you guys live in Lake County. We could have two different ballots, obviously with different people on them because our districts are different. Some of the people on each ballot will be the same, president, senator, but since I live in a different congressional district, those candidates will be different from your congressional district ballot. Having said that, we might have the same governor, people on the same ballot, and whatnot. So you may have different types of ballots or voting machines from county to county. You might have older machines in poorer counties, fancy ones in wealthier counties. I believe in both of our counties we have what is called the oval scanners. Now, having said that, we also know through U.S. history and a little bit of this class that some states were trying to prevent one group of people from voting. For instance, in the South, the whites were trying to keep the African Americans from voting, hence literacy tests and the poll taxes and grandfather clauses. So the federal government, again, cannot get involved, but they do get involved when the states aren't doing their job, hence the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So let's take a look at how voting takes place. And the first thing they do is they divide up literally every single square inch of a state and put them in a geographic area. So you and your house live in a voting precinct, and you will get a card a month before the election to tell you where and go to vote. So the geographic breakdown within a city is called a precinct, and you have usually about between 500 and 1,000 people within a precinct. That will dictate what polling place you go to. That's where you actually go and vote. I go to a Baptist church, and there are 3 or 4 precincts that report to that one church to vote. So you have to identify what precinct you belong to. Basically, a ballot that we use today is called the Australian ballot. It's going to be made at public expense, meaning the government will print that, hence the county government. It has all the candidates on the ballot. You can only receive it at the polls, and it is going to be done in secret. And it's going to be done in secret. Now you might think, well, that seems pretty obvious, but in the 1800s, oftentimes you would get the ballot at your political party headquarters, and oddly enough, sometimes they would not put all the other candidates on there, and they would use intimidation to make sure that you would vote for the party that gave you the ballot. So there was intimidation there. So the Australian ballot is what we use today. And then finally, the last slide goes over voting machines innovations. Clearly, we want to make sure everybody votes, and we want to encourage people to vote. In Oregon, they have a system called voting by mail. You vote, you have a week to vote, you get it in the mail, and then you just drop it in the mailbox. Up to 93% of registered voters voted in the 2012 elections. 93% of registered voters. So clearly, it seems like voting by mail works in Oregon. Voting machine scans. The oval scan is a new innovation, about 15 years old. Again, in Lake County and DeKalb County, DuPage County, and I think most counties in Illinois have those now after the 2000 election. And it's just like a little bubble, just like that, and then when you're done, you slide it into a machine like that. Some people will say, why not online voting? And of course, some of the issues there are hacking and multiple votes and whatnot. There was an HBO documentary called Hacking Democracy that I might show the first couple of minutes of, and maybe the last couple of minutes from YouTube, but it's pretty powerful. Again, it just goes to show you the potential harm that can be done if we don't keep our guard up. I think I've said this in every single class. Most of us don't care about very many issues, leaving the power of the people who really do care, even though they're in a minority, very, very small minority, to be able to care a lot and do things that we really wouldn't trust. So that's the end of this slide. What we will be doing next in Chapter 7 is going over elections and how money affects elections. Things like the FEC, political action committees, new things that your textbook doesn't go over, like super PACs, and how much money can influence campaigns. So that's what we're going to be working on in the future. Tests will be coming up fairly soon, so please make sure you've read Chapter 7, as you should have before this video, and soon to be reading Chapter 8, which is the media.